Alrighty, everybody. Hello, welcome. Greetings. Finally. Shit. Alrighty. It has been a long night, y'all. I'm very wasted and just got done doing almost 7.5 hours with Drunken Peasants, so that was really fun. Hopefully some people will hang out in here and come over here. We can only hope, man. I love appearing on other people's shows because it's always a great opportunity to do cross promotion. Here she be, a streamy from Phoebe. Yay! I think I saw you in the DP chat earlier. I think, maybe. I didn't even remember my microphone this time, so I'm just gonna have to stream at you guys from the inferior iPhone audio, and you're just gonna have to deal with it. What's up, everybody? Hello, greetings, welcome. I had so much fun on DP. It was so fun. I had so much fun. Yeah, I also donated a tad. Nice. Thank you. That's so cool. I'm so glad. Thank you. Yeah, that's cool. Drunken Peasants is the podcast that got me watching podcasts way back in 2015. So Drunken Peasants is partly to blame for my existence as a content creator. So it was really cool to be able to go on their show. And it's really cool that some people from my community came over to them and graced them with a few donos as well. Hey, King Bugs. Hello, Matt. Hello, everyone else. Hello, greetings, welcome. Hello, greetings, welcome. Hello, greetings, welcome. Make sure you hit that like button and share the stream if you have the ability to. Bugs, Matt, hello. Yes, everybody we would love is here. Hello, Matt. Hello, Bugs. Hello, Aria. Hello, everyone who is joining us at this late, great hour. I've still got a little bit of my drink left. So yeah, we'll see what the stream does. It's very, very late at night, and I'm not sure if the stream title is going to be one that YouTube likes, but we'll see. Where did hello come from anyway? Probably Hallo, which is German, and Hallo, I think, comes from hail or hal, I believe, or heil. So late it's early, indeed. It is so late it's early. King Bugs, normally you're the one who's drunk in chat, and I'm the, relatively sober streamer that's only weed high, but tonight I am both drunk and I'm about to get stoned. So what the fuck is up, YouTube? Here's an example of what a person looks like when they're a little bit crossfaded and can still do content. This is informational. Did you get a chance to talk about Unitarian Universalists? No, we can talk about that now. So one of the weird things about tests like the one that, so Matt, the mod in my chat just now, sent me a test, and I guess I'll take it with you guys here on stream, because it would be pretty interesting to take it. Matt, can you send me that test? Let me see here, because he sent me a test, and he tried to answer as according to what he thinks I would. Oh, yeah? Yeah, Matt? Is that how it is? Yeah? You fucking piece of shit. What are you doing in my stream guest fucking live channel, Matt? You're live. What? Well, all right. Yeah, that's fair. I can. You've got the role that enables it. It's fine. It's fine. I'm gonna take that test. Can you send it to me?
Yeah, let me turn you down.
What?
You're loud.
I'm loud?
Yeah. I fixed it, don't worry about it.
Alright, cool. Can you send me that test?
Yes. I can. Let me get it for you. Hold on, I got it.
Alright, bet. Yeah, because Matt sent me an interesting beliefs test, and I think that it's based on, like, religions and stuff, but I'm going to test it, and I'm going to see what it thinks my religious alliance is. Matt took it, assuming my answers, and got Unitarian Universalist, which I do not think is accurate, but we will take the test, and we'll see what we come up with.
Alright, here you go. It's what you're going to do.
Alrighty. By the way, the person on the live chat right now is Matt Blank from the chat, Matt, the mod in my chat. If you are interested in coming to chat with me live, you can do so by joining my Discord, which someone can link in the chat if they don't mind, and joining the Stream Guest Vet channel. Alrighty, let's see here. Got the DM. Alrighty. So we got the Belief-O-Matic. Ask the Belief-O-Matic. So we got the first question, 1 of 20. What is the number and nature of the deities? Alright. So we got only one God, a corporeal spirit, infinite, supreme person of the creator. Definitely not. Only one God, an incorporeal spirit, infinite, supreme person of the creator. So those two options are definitely not me. One has a body, one doesn't, but either way, I don't believe in it. Multiple personal gods, regarded as facets of one god or as separate gods, no. Supreme force is the impersonal ultimate reality. What? Or life force, ultimate truth, cosmic order, absolute bliss, universal soul. No, definitely not. No god or supreme forces, or not sure or not important, is definitely going to be my answer. And I would say that that's pretty high in terms of importance. I really do not believe in giving religious people more leeway and justification than we absolutely have to.
That's interesting because I put the importance on low for that because, for me personally, because it's not like super important for me to give my opinion on whether I actually believe that there is a God or not, and I put the importance pretty low because it's just like a matter of fact for me. It's not like, I'm sweating it, so I have to put it on high.
Yeah,
it's just the way it is.
That's fair. I guess the reason I placed it higher in importance is because, like, to me, the matter of whether there is a God or not matters a lot more than it does, I think, some atheists, because to me, I cannot help but whenever I consider the religious conversation, like religious topics, as like just as a subject, I can't help but think about how people use and manipulate their religious tendencies in furtherance of, like, nationalism or capitalism or whatever, right? So it's just like, to me, it's pretty important that someone not believe in a God. It's not a deal breaker for me, but for me, I consider it like a pretty fundamental or foundational part to my belief system, personally. Like, I would, let me put it this way. I would, for sure, and I get that. For me, I feel like it would change a lot about my viewpoint if someone could prove that the God of the Bible, or the God of the Quran, or the God of the many gods of the Bhagavad Gita were true. If they could prove that, and they could prove it unequivocally, and I would have to be, like, obligated to believe it by just the sheer brunt of the evidence, to me, that would change quite a bit about what I think people should do. If there actually is some afterlife where people might be burned for all eternity, then I would think that it is, like, of the utmost importance that people avoid that. It would be a fundamental part to my belief against reducing suffering. But since I don't see any evidence of that, and I think that in fact it's like, in the face of having little to zero evidence for the existence of hell or heaven or anything else, I just think it's really important that we don't let people off the hook for believing in stupid Bronze Age bullshit unless they're, like, not too intrusive about it, you know?
Sure.
Are there human incarnations of God or of God's goddesses? Choose one. God is supreme and no incarnations. One incarnation, many incarnations. Nope, 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 nope. All are equally incarnations? No. Do what? Yeah, true. We would all have to pick that one. I'm going to say no incarnations because there is no God or not sure or not important. I'm going to place the importance on that on high because it just feels to me like a little bit of a rephrase of the original question. Dude, my chat is not answering anything interesting. King Bugs says, I scored liberal Quakerism. Right on, King Bugs. Yeah, I'm interested to see where I land, but we'll see. What are the origins of the physical universe and life on Earth? Choose one. As stated in Scripture, God created a mature universe and mature life forms from nothing in less than 7 days, less than 10,000 years ago. No. Lord, no. Same as above, but a day is not 24 hours and possibly refers to thousands of years or to creation phases. Okay. Yeah, I've heard that justification before. God is creating and controlling the natural processes discovered by scientists, or there are other spiritual explanations compatible with scientific discovery. Okay, that's like the Christian that believes in science's answer to this question. So all matter and life forms are manifestations of the eternal absolute? No. Only natural forces account for existence and not a creator of spiritual forces. Or not sure or not important. Yeah, I would, yeah, definitely. And I'm going to say my importance is med, because ultimately I think that you can believe a lot of absurd things about how the universe came to be without being like deeply religious and wanting to make other people live by your moral standards. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm hitting my bowl. Feel free to fill air.
Oh, I was eating a cookie, so cookies are more important than filling air.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I can't even blame you for that. So the next one we got is what happens to humans after death? So we got souls are judged immediately for a foretaste of heaven or hell. At the final judgment, all will be resurrected and judged for heaven or hell, or punishment and or purification before heaven. Definitely not. Death results in unconsciousness until at the final judgment the righteous will rise to heaven. No, definitely not. Souls don't survive death. No. What?
I said Mitch Mcconell will be finding that out real soon.
Yeah, no, definitely. No joke. I was looking into that pretty heavily, by the way, and just so you guys know, it's looking very likely that Mitch McConnell, longtime leader of the Republican Party, is very likely dead. If he's not already dead, he's going to be dead soon. He is not long for this world. I'll be surprised if he survives the summer without an official announcement of his death. Thank goodness for that. Let's see here. Yeah, no, that's true. I'm going to answer this one. There's no spiritual existence beyond life, or not sure or not important. And I'm going to place that on high, because I think that, like, once you start justifying... It's kind of like it goes back to what I was saying earlier about reducing harm and everything. If you genuinely believe that there is a hell, and that certain, like, decisions you can make that would be otherwise innocuous if it were not for the added layer of God and hell, if you're going to try and like distinguish people's behavior and make them act differently on the basis of their belief or non-belief in this thing, I just think you need to have a really, really, really high standard of evidence for that. So I'm gonna go with high importance on that. And why is there terrible wrongdoing in the world? Choose one. Humans inherited sinfulness or a damaged nature, a tendency to yield to Satan's temptations from Adam's and Eve's original sin against God. So that's like the Abrahamic monotheist answer. Wrongdoing occurs because God give us free will? No. That's like the bullshitter Christians answer. Ignorance of one's true existence as pure spirit and as one with the universal truth can lead to wrongdoing? Oh my God. Generic bullshit. Not listening to the voice of God who speaks from within all can lead to wrongdoing. Okay. I think that might be the least harmful of all the different options we've been given. Like, I think that you could, in theory, be listening to a voice of God that might be compatible with basic ideas of morality. So I guess that's not that bad. And, Let's see. Egoism, self-importance leads to desire, craving, and attachment, so it can lead to unwholesome thoughts and wrong behavior, e.g. greed, hate, and violence. I would agree with that, and I'll place it high. No supernaturals.
I was choosing between that one and just the... what's the last one on there?
No supernatural or spiritual reasons, basically. Saying that human...
I was flip-flopping between those two because I believe in both of them. So it's kind of like...
Yeah, for me...
Answer, I think, personally.
Yeah, for me, I think it's more nuanced to say that it's egoism, because, like, implying that there are no explanations or that there are no influences from people's psychology or their spirituality or anything else like that, I feel like that would be reductive and not reflective of reality. I don't necessarily know that it's necessarily egoism that makes every person act in ways that are negative or antisocial. But I also don't know if the behavior that they do would be something that they would even be able to classify as egoism. So would it in fact be that, but they wouldn't be able to classify it? I don't know. The thing I will say is... I don't know. I don't know if enough about psychology to say for sure. But I'm going to answer that and high. So, one or more spirit beings exist who can cause human suffering. Disagree. High. And the reason for that, once again, is because if you believe in something for which there is no evidence, then you can justify a whole lot without ever being asked to present your case or argue for it, respectably. And this is one of those examples. If you genuinely think that there is a person living in the sky or living in the rocks or living in the trees that cares what you think and what you say, and wants your specific moral precepts carried out to the world and to life in general, you are asking a whole lot of your fellow human beings, and you need a huge burden of proof for that. So, super high importance. Question 7 of 20, why is there so much suffering in the world? Adam and Eve, definitely not. Suffering is part of God's divine will. Definitely not. That would make God evil. If God did exist, then he was of that nature. It would make him evil, unequivocally. Suffering is a state of mind. Only our spiritual nature is real. Bullshit. You know, suffering is fucking real as shit. Just ask any starving child in Ghana what suffering is like, and they'll be able to give you a very apt definition. Let's see. Spiritual or cosmic imbalance and disharmony may result in suffering. I mean, maybe, but I don't want to select that one because as true as that may be, I don't feel like it actually answers the truth of what this question is trying to get me to say. Unwholesome thoughts and or deeds always return as suffering. I'll agree with that.
No. Wait, no. It says unwholesome thoughts or deeds always return as suffering. That's not true.
Well, I would agree that it kind of is true. It's not saying that it necessarily returns. Well, I don't know. When it says it returns as suffering, maybe I'm just drunk, but the way I read that is because you do this evil, it results in another evil, a distinct evil being created somewhere else. But I guess really...
Well, is it asking if suffering for others or yourself? That's the question, I guess.
Right, and it occurs to me that it's probably talking about specifically, because it mentions karma, it's talking specifically about like the idea of like you do something bad, and something bad happens to you because of it.
Somebody suffers.
Right. Well, no, karma is the idea that you do something bad and you suffer later. Not necessarily immediately, but you suffer at some point because you put that suffering out into the world. The way I was taking it at first...
True, there would be a lot less people in power doing bad things.
Right.
Like a lot of people are getting caught, but a lot of people will never be caught and will do horrible things.
Of course, then again, Matt, you have to think about it, though. Like, there are rich people that complain about being rich, and that bitch about it all the time, and that act like it's like the worst state of being, and that are depressed and shit, you know, so I don't know.
But you don't think there's like a small, I mean, it's not even small, you don't think there's people out there who do horrible things, absolutely like a leech take from society, and nothing bad ever happens, and their life is just great for them personally. And I'm like, I don't give a shit, whatever.
There is no such thing as a life where nothing bad ever happens. I mean, if your life gets to a sufficient point of comfort, you'll just start...
You know what I mean?
Well, but what I'm saying is that if your life gets to a sufficient point of comfort, you'll just start inventing things that are basically like big deals to be mad at, right? Like, to me, a big deal would be like if I lost my YouTube channel, or if I lost, like, if some direct deposit issue happened and I didn't get my check on time or something. Like, that might be an issue to me. Whereas, like, a rich fuck like that, like, if you get enough money and wealth around you, then at that point you're not really worrying about your monthly bills. That shit's taken care of on a yearly basis for the most part. You're more worried about, like, why did this weird bookkeeping thing happen this month? I'm going to look into that. I'm going to have my assistant look into that, right? And, yeah, I guess, like, I just wonder how much these people's negative behavior towards other people and their antisocial bullshit ends up returning back on them in the form of depression and disconnection from the rest of society, and, like, the results of that emotionally.
Well, I think most, if not, I mean, I wouldn't say all, but I would say most rich or even famous people, even if they're not rich, are disconnected from the rest of society just from that one.
I don't know. At what point do you think that happens? Like, do you think I'm disconnected from society? Because I'm not famous by any means, but I've got a little bit of YouTube fame or whatever.
I think you're, the way you believe, maybe the way you've chosen to live your life has somewhat disconnected you from the majority of people. That's not saying that's a bad thing or anything. It's just, you know, a lot of people that's the way you do. And that could be, like I said, it's not necessarily bad.
Yeah, that's fair. I was just curious what your thoughts on it were.
Look at your, like, your dirty kid stuff and be like, yeah, no.
Well, that's the thing. Part of the reason, I guess I'm a bad example, because part of the reason why I'm kind of disconnected from society and why it's sometimes hard for me to relate to other people, even if it's not necessarily hard for them to relate to me, is because lots of people have had to live in a shelter for a couple of weeks. Lots of people have had to couch surf for a couple of weeks. Very, very few people in this country have lived in a minivan for multiple months. In fact, 2 years.
More these days. That's more and more these days.
More and more these days, but it's still less than like 1% of the population. It's I would still say it's like 1% of the population has meaningfully lived in their car for like multiple months or years. Like, that's what I'm talking about, right?
The question is, when you lived in your car and you did your duty, did you like living in your car as part of the whole experience? I'm sure at sometimes you did, but not all the times you did.
Looking back on it, it's very hard for me to speak objectively, because on the one hand, I want to say, yeah, dude, it was fucking dope. But on the other hand, there's lots of things that I can do now that I was not able to do then, really. Like, a lot of the reason why I was able to get my YouTube channel off the ground and, you know, doing stuff was because I had a couple of really good jobs before I started doing this. Monetize, you know, and I was able to afford buying upgrades for my equipment and getting like basic stuff together, and I had like a basic platform of like stability that enabled me to stream with a level of credibility that would have been relatively hard, I think, for me to establish as like a dirty kid. I would have definitely had to do a different kind of content. I would have had to make like my traveling life a big part of that content stream, I think, to make it as successful and profitable as this has been. And so, I don't know, I look back on it, in a lot of ways I did enjoy it, in a lot of ways I really fucking didn't. Because, like, I'll think about, when I'm trying to think objectively, right, I will think about, like, this night where me and my cat were living in southeast Missouri at the time. It was early 2023, and it was a really harsh winter, and I was in a little town in St. Francis County, Missouri, and I was staying in the Walmart parking lot that night, and my engine was having big problems. Now, I had the money to get it fixed the next day. I had the money to go get like an oil change the next day, which is, I knew that's what it needed based on the symptoms it was presenting, and the oil, like I looked at the dipstick and everything. I knew it needed an oil change, and that would fix it. But by the time the engine issue happened, the service center was already closed, and I had to sleep there that night without any warming from the engine or the heater. And I just remember by the end of that night, my kitty was snuggled underneath the covers, and I had like 7 layers of fucking blanket, like 3 below me, or 4 below me, and 3 above me, I mean. And my kitty was snuggled between my thighs down there, and I had like 4, I think, of those hot hands, chemical heating packs at different points in my body to make sure that like the basic stuff stayed as warm as possible. And I somehow went to sleep that night, and I survived that night. But I'm not even kidding you, when I woke up the next day, there was literally frozen on frost on the inside of my van windows, which I left open because you kind of have to leave some source of airflow when you're sleeping in a car or something like that, even if you're not leaving the engine running, because you don't want to run out of oxygen, especially because I had a pet there. I don't want the kitty to run out of oxygen. By the time I woke up, I was freezing ass cold, starting to warm up a little bit from the rising sun, but there was literally frost that had formed inside of my windows. And I think back to that night when I think about, like, did I enjoy that? Was it awful? It was awful, honestly, looking back on it. I made it nice. I made it good. I made the best of it, and I had some really wonderful times. But for the most part, Matt, it sucked. That's why I tell people that they shouldn't do it unless they really have the money to not have to fucking worry about spanging and scraping by every fucking day.
Yeah, I mean, being definitely in a cold climate sucks when you're living in your car. You really have to be in like the perfect climate to really do it long term, I think.
Well, like what a lot of dirty kids do that travel is like, the idea is that you go to different parts of the country different times a year, right? Because there's no part of this country where you can live year round and the climate's just fine. Well, okay, there are a couple parts, but they are literally infested and full to the brim of rich people and dirty kids that are trying to survive at their, like, you know, abnormal part of year. There's somebody that likes being somewhere else during the winter, but they like being in Key West during the summer. Or they like being somewhere else for the summer, but they like being in Key West for the winter. And, like, you're competing against that fucking crowd and all the rich people and all their fucking, you know, sons and daughters that are trying to get fucking jobs at those places and shit. So the places that are nice year-round are like, you can't live there year-round. You can maybe go there for a season and deal with it for a while, but you can't live there fucking year-round. What people would do is structure their travel around the seasons. So, for example, what I would do, I would overwinter in the deep south where, you know, like, for the most part, I would stay with my mom at her apartment for like 2 to 3 months and then you know, get back on the road. But I knew even if that didn't work out, if me and her started a feud or something like that, and I just needed to bug out and go somewhere else and live for a while, I could. I was in an area where I could survive every night without it getting so cold that I would freeze to death or be seriously injured, especially because I had a van. Lots of other dirty kids would go to places like Quartzsite, Arizona during the winter, places like Slab City, California during the winter, and during the rest of the year, well, in spring, you might take a jaunt out to the Midwest and maybe the East Coast because you know that it's going to stay pretty cool out there for a while, right? It's warm enough now, you won't freeze to death, but it's cool enough that you're not going to fucking sweat your ass off trying to spange in the summer and everything. But as those temperatures start to rise, then you start heading either to the Northeast or to the West Coast, because in the heat of summer, you do not want to be in the Midwest or on most of the, like, southern East Coast. You don't want to be in the deep South. You don't want to be in the Southeast generally. You don't want to be in the Midwest. You don't want to be in the fucking heat in the swamp, because there's just no way to get a good night's sleep in that shit. If you have the ability to travel, you will try to get your ass either to the Northeast or to somewhere on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And that is how most people structure their traveling and manage to stay alive despite the seasons, is literally like moving nomadically from place to place to structure their time so that they aren't killed by the seasons.
What's the next question?
So the next question is, you must worship God, 3 persons of one essence, the supreme power, God or gods, God the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and each a distinct entity, none of the above, definitely none of the above. I would say hi. I do not like the idea that we should be normalizing Christian religion or Abrahamic religion in general in people's minds or children or whatever. No thanks. You must participate in certain sacred rites of your faith group. Fuck no. Not applicable. No, disagree. I disagree. Yeah, no. Fuck rituals. Fuck some fucking idea that, like, a bunch of people in some social group can tell you how to live and what to do and when you have to be where at which time and what you have to do at that point. Give me 1 second.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I think just all religions in general, not just Abrahamic religions. I mean,
yeah, for sure.
Of course, people should be able to, you know, like I said, pray in your closet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's how I feel. Pray in your closet, exactly like Matt said, yeah. So all you people call me disgusting, fucking disgusting human being, do you believe your drug addiction is directly tied to the flag behind you? All you fucking hateful people in here, listen to what Matt just said. Pray in your closet, not out here in public where everyone can see you like the Pharisees. You must regularly confess your sins or wrongs to a cleric? Nope. Your sins or wrongs, but not necessarily to a cleric? Not applicable. Nope. High importance. No. Do not talk to the police. Do not talk to your priest. Do not talk to those that you do not need to talk to about things that they don't need to hear, okay? Save yourself the trouble.
Stop telling on yourself.
Yeah, stop telling on yourself. Rap snitches, telling all their business. Get up in court and be their own star witness. Did you see the perpetrator? Shit, yeah, I'm right here. Fuck around and get the whole label set up for years. Fuck yes, rap snitches. Good works and compassion are necessary to attain the ultimate reward or reality. I kind of want to answer, like, that one, just because, like, I kind of do.
Yes, but they don't do it.
Exactly, but also, I kind of believe that, like, just personally, I think that if you want, like, I believe that the ultimate reward in life is being able to look around before you get senile and see a world that got better because you did something. I think that that is the highest possible nirvana that a human being can achieve. And I mean that with all my heart, soul, and ambition. I genuinely hope that when I get to be 55, 60 years old, I can look around at this world and say, yep, I put my fucking mark right here, and I made things better because of my activism in this area. And I hope that everyone else that listens to me can do the same eventually. I genuinely hope that. I think that that is the closest thing to nirvana that you can attain in a human lifetime. But at the same time... Exactly. Exactly. And I just don't want to, like, try and justify their bullshit. So I'm going to say there is no spiritual realm after life, or not important, or not applicable, and I'm going to place that importance as high. So, choose a statement that best reflects your beliefs about the path of the ultimate reward or reality. Okay. Adhere strictly to any rites, practices, precepts, commandments, prohibitions, laws, sacraments, or ordinances of your belief group. Nope. All, even terrible wrongdoers, attain the ultimate reward after death because God is infinitely forgiving. So that's like the common Protestant position. And the position of Muslims, for the record. Yeah, they believe that if you convert to Islam and genuinely believe that you are made a being that can no longer sin, you are prevented from it by your religion. Mormons believe something pretty similar. Extinguish all cravings, attachment, and ignorance, or rid oneself of impurities. That's like the Buddhist/Hindu line. Realize your true nature as...
That's what Paul's trying to do.
Well, I would argue that the Paul line is the next one. Realize your true nature as purely spirit and not body, as one with the absolute universal soul, etc. That's what I would argue.
But this is kind of like the conversation that was like, I understand, I hope I understand this correctly. For Paul, this is more of just a therapy type thing to stop freaking out about what's going on with the rest of the world. And less to do with he actually believes in this Wu-Wei type of, you know,
I don't know.
Nirvana type stuff.
I think Paul might actually believe this shit. And it's one of the things that makes me fascinated in the Tao.
I mean, if somebody wants escapism, I guess go for it.
Well, I know it's definitely escapism because I believe that all religions fundamentally at their core are a form of escapism, but I don't know if it's just escapism for him. I think there's lots of people that engage in religious ideologies of all sorts and all different sorts of persuasions that do have wish thinking, basically, at the core of their philosophy. But it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of wish thinking involved in Paul's, with the exception of like the idea that believing that we are all part of one thing and that things kind of go as they do and that they more or less turn out all right. I feel like, yeah, that makes sense as like a cope ideology to make sure like you can fucking deal with the world as it exists. But I don't get the sense from Paul that it's just that it's just a form of escapism or just a rejection of like the nihilistic nature of reality. It seems to me like he actually gets something from reading the Tao Te Ching, and that's what gets me.
I guess it's the same like conversation I was having with Taylor and stuff. Like, I don't have an issue with staring into the abyss and just accepting that at some point the human race is fucked. I mean, whether it's due to a disease or, you know, a meteor or the sun exploding or a black hole, so many things, so many grandiose things could happen to the human race, which will probably happen. One of those things will happen for sure, maybe two of those things.
Yeah.
And I'm fine just with accepting it. You know, I don't need some escapism to try to, like, calm my mind and my nervous saying, oh, everything will be okay. Everything ultimately will not be okay. And that's okay.
Yeah, I am trying to, I'm trying to find a fucking quote here, real quick.
It's okay to not be okay, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm trying so desperately to find this fucking quote, because it talks exactly about what we are talking about, and I just want to find it because it'll make me feel so much better. Okay, let's see. Let's see here. Fuck! Give me the fucking source, you piece of shit. Fuck, I'm like yelling at my AI now. I'm like Brett, dude.
I'm thinking about that, I can't remember.
Fuck. Oh my god, you piece of fucking dog shit. Come on now. Oh, Lord.
That's when you'll know the AI has our number, is when they can think of the thing we're trying to think about and give us the answer.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm just trying to find, like... I just want to find it, dude. I just want to find it, that's all. I just want to find this thing. So basically, I can't find it, so I'm just gonna have to fucking paraphrase it, because Google is a piece of shit these days. So basically, Christopher Hitchens talks about in the book God Is Not Great, how, like, the Earth, we know for a fact that the Earth is on borrowed time. We know that more or less our galaxy is on borrowed time, because eventually our sun will run out of, like, fuel to react with, and at that point it will follow the path of a million other stars and go into, what is it, a red dwarf or something like that? Oh, and eventually it'll fucking collapse into a black hole, and that's only a mere 3.5 trillion years away or some shit like that. And the point of the quote is basically like, with what contempt then must we regard those who want to bring it about sooner, who are obsessed to the point of pathology with the idea of bringing about the rapture or the end of all things or the afterlife or any of this other bullshit. It's absurd. It's creepy, actually. Because we know it's going to end. We know. It's literally an unavoidable fact of the universe. We know for a fact it will end.
And there's nothing we can do about it, as far as we know.
Yeah, like we might find something out later, but that'll be like a discovery that like changes things and changes how we look at our Like, that would be a discovery that changes how we look at the long-term projections of what we should be doing as a species, and nothing we have found thus far indicates such a truth to us.
Right. I mean, it's not to say that you should not attempt to make the time you have good and for other people as well. But, I mean, to sit and worry every day whether, you know, there's a heaven or a hell, or, you know, whether we're all part of something. I mean, but technically, in that sense, we are all made of the same things.
Yeah.
So,
Niner, by the way, said...
we are all the same thing.
Niner in the chat, by the way, said, the comment section is not really rational opposition, and it's our call to ignore your Bible-thumping opinion. Talking about people in the chat, and I just have to say, you're 100% right. I have been choosing to ignore the comment section for a big chunk of this call, because I'm actually having more, a more interesting time taking this test and talking to Matt than I am, like, reading you guys' chats. And outside of a few of you that are doing good, like Taylor and some of the mods that have been in here, you guys aren't doing a very good job. You guys aren't. They're not sending the best. They're sending rapists. They're sending murderers. And some of them, I assume, are good people.
Religious dribble is not interesting?
No, Matt. Somehow, after fucking a full year on worth of debating these retards in chat day in and day out, I haven't found much of an interest left in them. But I'm going to keep doing it because I'm way smarter than they are, and I'm actually capable of monetizing this shit, unlike them.
I'm still not convinced that, like, 80% of these people are not bots, religious bots or some shit. It's just too, like, frequent. Every fucking... I mean, I just don't... I feel like there's, like, this, you know, religious bot farm, which job is just going every single stream.
Yeah. Bro, Matt, will you entertain the chat for a second so I can go use the bathroom? Because I'm drunk and I need to pee.
Yeah, go for it.
Alright, give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
Let's see here. Hello, ENT. MCs. Hello. What job is that? How you doing, Taylor? And how you doing, King Bugs? Thank you for the donut, King Bugs. Really appreciate it. Let's see. Well, Tom, it's not really a debate. It's just discussion on beliefs. Me and Phoebe are pretty much mostly the same opinion on, you know, Abrahamic religions. We're not really fighting each other on what we believe. Also, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that debates can be happened through streams. I do believe that they should probably be a person, and, you know, two people and also moderator in real life to have like an actual debate. Let's see what else. Bugs. No farts for you, Lobster. No farts for you. God loves you, Dunno. I think. Yeah, that's right. And also a lot of it just devolves into fighting and bickering and ENT. I don't know necessarily believe that a fruitful debate can really happen. Unless it's like in person in front of with a moderator and stuff. I think a debate needs to be structured, basically. We talk about Scottish. You don't believe in structured debates, or are you like replying to like someone else? Yeah, Phoebe just got off like an 8-hour stream with drunken peasants, and she's a little crossfaded, so. Give her a break. We should all be Nancy. How do I pronounce your name, Nancy? Tom, again, it's not a debate. We're not debating. We're just discussing religion. I'm not like fighting Phoebe over, a different point of view or something. Let's see here.
Oh, Lord.
Wait a
Oh, I feel like I can fly now. What's up, everybody? I work at a dispensary. I'm surrounded by Zaza all day and night. That's awesome.
I don't know if anybody can hear me during that whole thing.
You don't know if they can hear you or not? Can you guys hear Matt?
I was talking to people, but people don't really.
I know you're not. I'm talking about the comments getting deleted. Oh God, it's back. What?
Oh, okay.
I could hear Matt. I can hear Matt. They're all saying they can hear you. So yeah, they can hear you.
We vamped. Alright, what's the next question, maybe? Or did we answer that question already?
Okay. So the elective abortion, next question is, elective abortion should be a woman's choice. Yes. Agree. Hi. Yeah, because unironically, if you don't support a person's right to choose whether or not they carry a baby to term, then you don't support a person's right to live if they should have a medical condition severe enough to require intervention.
Not just that, I don't want to be responsible for whatever outcomes that happen with me forcing someone to carry a pregnancy.
Exactly. My thing is...
Or something happens, I don't want to be responsible for that.
My thing is, Matt, what are the consequences of allowing abortion to exist? Even late-term abortion and all that shit. Some people might get more abortions?
Fetus, birth defects, mental problems. The list goes on. Missing limbs, deformities, so many things.
Yeah, literally.
We should allow it. or just the fact that they don't want to have to support a baby in them.
Well, what I was saying is, what's the worst that happens if it is, allowed, if it's fine, if anybody can get an abortion if they need one? What, less kids are born to people who don't want them? Good. Do you know how many kids are born these days to parents who don't fucking want to have anything to do with them? And yeah, if it's a baby, that's fine, but some people... literally, there are people that have kids thinking they want kids really bad, and then they have the fucking kid. And then you know what happens? They really didn't want parenthood. They thought they did. They thought it would save their relationship or some other bullshit. Turns out they really fucking hate being a parent, and they end up fucking that kid up. And at some point, because they're just not doing enough of their shit, you get a situation like that situation that just happened in Ohio or whatever, where there's 4 adults that are all responsible for watching this menagerie of kids, and they're all looked after badly and mistreated and abused like fuck because they were brought up into a world with parents that don't want them, that are not interested in them, etc. And, like, in those kids' cases, are you really going to sit and argue with me like it would not have been better for them at the point, like, with the lives they've led? Would it have not been a better situation for everyone involved if, before they'd ever had a chance to open their eyes or experience a moment of suffering, they would have been, like, just erased from the ledger, more or less? Like, drop all the fucking moral kayfabe and the religious bullshit. And wouldn't it just be better if those kids in Ohio had not been born, period, full stop?
I do kind of wonder how many of these people who espouse these religious beliefs would honestly force their 12-year-old daughter to go through with a pregnancy.
None of them!
Whether it was accidental with their boyfriend or through something worse. Would they honestly force them to do that?
No, some of them would. Some of them would encourage them to marry the person that had gotten them pregnant, even if it was someone who was like 21, because, like, fuck it, whatever, child marriage. But a lot of them would just go get an abortion. And a lot of them would charge the person who molested their, like, 12-year-old daughter or whatever with, they would go through the legal process to have that person charged and investigated at the very least, because, like, any normal, rational parent wouldn't want that to happen. But these people will sit around making excuses for Donald Trump fucking around with kids by acting like, oh, 13 is not that young, 14 is not that young. But that's not actually a fucking standard they uphold. It's not something they would want fucking practiced in their own house. They would not want some 65-year-old man fucking creeping up on their daughter and fucking around with her when she was 13. But they're perfectly fine with their president doing it.
I feel like the way people like Trump see their daughters is really like how royalty see their children, which is just commodities to be traded with others.
Yeah, no, unironically. Well, that's how Donald Trump sees everything in his life. Everything in Donald Trump's life is either an asset to be profited from or a liability to be disconnected with.
Like, I feel like if it meant like Trump could double his fortune, he would trade his daughter to some rich guy.
Yeah, no, he would. Unironically, he would. He would sell his daughter off to sexual slavery if he thought it would get him another $2 billion. Here's the thing that I always want to point out is, like, what was I about to say? Had something to do with Trump and wealth and this daughter shit that we were just talking about. Oh yeah, I was just thinking, like, think about one person. Try and think. I'm genuinely asking, Matt. Can you think of one single person that Donald Trump has a positive relationship that he does not stand to benefit from in some way?
Or somebody doesn't see their relationship with him as something to benefit from? That's a good question. No, honestly.
Even Zoran Mamdani. Even Zoran Mamdani. He stands to fucking profit and benefit from his connection with Zoran Mamdani. Because if he fucking treats Mamdani like shit, Mamdani has every incentive to go after his many and varied real estate holdings that he still has in New York City.
The only people in Donald Trump's life that may actually be sad if he died or something is maybe a toddler. Maybe like a grandchild.
Yeah, or... You know who else? Susie Bliss. Susie Bliss seems to actually like Trump for some fucking reason, and seems to actually be invested in the project of Maga. I don't know why. I can't imagine what would possess someone as old and fucking storied as her to pursue such an angle. But Susie Bliss actually seems to be like an operative that is genuinely on his side. I think she might be sad if he died. But Pete Hegseth? No. Pete Hegseth is a grifter. He's an opportunist. He doesn't give a shit. Fucking Marco Rubio? Opportunist. Doesn't give a shit. Anybody else in his circle? Stephen Miller? Opportunist. Doesn't give a shit.
Right. I think the reason that we see this behavior with, like, rich and powerful people, royalty, is because they had to be raised so cutthroat. Because they knew if they didn't try to get what they want, that they would be stepped on by somebody else trying to do the same thing. And that's just because they were raised that way. Trump, I'm sure Trump probably had very little to do with the raising of his children, for the majority. Probably had like nannies and stuff take care of them for the most part, I would assume.
I would assume so. I think you're kind of right and kind of wrong. The people, like, okay, so Fred Trump might have raised Donald Trump to be the kind of person you're talking about. But the person who made the Trump's family wealth was not actually Fred Trump. It was actually his mom. It was actually Fred Trump's mother that made the wealth that made the Trump family so rich. Frederick Trump, Fred Trump's dad, died.
Right.
So Frederick Sr.
learned to be real cutthroat real quick. She probably slice somebody's throat.
Exactly, but I don't know that she raised her kids to be like that, or if she did, I think she raised them to be that way in an era where capital was still growing rapidly, competition was still incredibly cutthroat. There were a lot less, like, it was a lot harder for a business to like make a legal case for their existence, and they were operating in what is ultimately an incredibly cutthroat and vicious and soulless area of the market, which is real estate. Like, the whole idea that you should be able to own the means of production as a private citizen and exclude that wealth from all the people who work there or keep it up and maintain it and shit is fundamentally unethical to me. So we're talking about like an avenue that's just full of that.
So the youngest of the adults now, Barron Trump,
Yeah,
is said to be opening and doing a arms business.
sounds about right.
And they're basically trying to. He's trying to become the Amazon of firearms. Basically, being able to mail out firearms to whoever, and they're trying to get this to go through.
Yeah, I mean, it'll probably go through, especially because it's connected to Trump. It'll probably go through, and it's not exactly surprising to me that that's the angle they're going with, because it's yet another angle that appeals perfectly to the MAGA base and gives them something to latch onto that will last longer than Trump as a human being or the MAGA movement as a politically relevant movement. I guarantee you, Matt, for at least 30 years after 2028, we are going to be dealing with people idolizing Trump and idealizing the days when he was in office, and it's going to be like 25% of the population that is just refusing to get with the times, refusing to understand that the world is better because leftists have made it such, and we've managed to recover from all the Trumpist bullshit. Literally 30 fucking years, you will still be hearing people now that they're like 35 now, they'll be 65 by the time we're talking about this point in time, and still talking about how Trump was the best president that ever lived. He was the best one in my lifetime. I tell you what, even though I've got universal health care now, and even though I've got a food stipend and a guaranteed housing, I tell you what, I got a lot more PS5 games back when Trump was president.
So, do you know what the website's going to be called? I'll give you a guess.
Trump guns.
Not on that much I know. It's going to be called Grab a Gun.
Oh, nice. So, like,
And,
turning the gun grabbing rhetoric round on its face. Gotcha. Perfect marketing.
Yeah, it says the proposal would allow licensed dealers to ship firearms directly to in-state residents who undergo an online identity verification and background check, along with a 7-day waiting period after notifying. Local law enforcement, currently online buyers must pick up firearms at physical stores and undergo in-person background checks unless they have a permit. Some gun shop owners, industry officials, and gun control advocates argue the direct shipping of firearms poses a significant public safety and security risks and threatens the viability of small brick-and-mortar gun shops. The change would benefit Trump Jr., Barron Trump, who's more than 300, Trump Jr., is that his kid? Yeah, never mind. who has more than 300,000 shares in Grab a Gun, worth more than 700,000, down from more than 5 million last year.
Damn.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that, because the way it works right now is when you order a gun online, that's shipped to a gun store of your choosing. But you have to show up, you have to get a background check, and you have to have a license to have it, and also a safety class, multiple safety classes, I think.
It depends on the state.
Pick up your firearm from the gun shop.
It depends on.
That's how it works in California.
Right. It depends on the state. In some states, you only have to pass like in some states you have to pass like a hunter safety course, and others you don't. In some states, you have to pass like a basic gun safety course before you can buy any kind of firearm, and in others you don't. In some places, it's dependent on the type of gun you buy. That's one of the weird things about America's gun laws, is the fact that we allow each and every individual state to define the limits of the Second Amendment means that what is legal in Mississippi or Oklahoma may not be legal in California or Massachusetts, and what is legal in Kentucky may not be illegal in Mississippi, you know?
What I want to know is, like, what could go wrong with shipping firearms for the mail? What could go wrong?
I can think of a bunch of different situations. Like, I don't know. Are you thinking, like, what could go wrong, like, literally, or are you, like, being sarcastic?
No, I'm talking about, like, no, I'm being sarcastic.
Okay.
Because everything is going to go wrong with doing that.
Well, yeah,
And
because,
we have people, porch pirates, just stealing shit off people's porches, like, all day long. We also have Amazon packages being stolen from Amazon itself.
Yeah, literally, like, there are people...
I don't know if especially if my name is tied to that gun, I don't know if I feel...
so like,
just being shipped through the mail.
So like your gun gets stolen in transit, and next thing you know, the police are showing up at your door because a gun that you purchased completely legally and went through all their fucking shit on grabagun.com, Trump's fucking, little fucking gun scam website. You did all the shit legally and it got delivered to your door, but it didn't get delivered to your door. It got stolen by some fucking criminal along the way, and now it's in the hands of somebody that just used it to hold up a fucking liquor store and steal a bunch of money out of the register, and then rob somebody's fucking car out from under them outside in the parking lot. Now that gun just fucking registered to you. Looks like you're on the fucking... Looks like you're getting a fucking call or a fucking visit.
Right. The way it would have to work is if they withhold the package unless you're there to sign for it. But at that point, wouldn't it be easier just to ship it to the gun shop so you can just pick it up when you want to? Like,
but I'm lazy. Matt, you haven't understood this, though. Listen, the only cars I buy for my family are big old gas guzzling sons of bitches, and all of them get 2 miles to the gallon. So if I want to go anywhere, that's a pretty big expense, man. And this Iran war has got the fucking expenses rather high this month, alright, if you understand me. So it'd just be really nice if this gun delivery website would just work out, because it'd be really nice if I could get my guns that I shouldn't be able to afford on the basis of how little I can afford gasoline shipped to my door, It just was something I need, because society's going to collapse. It's 6 months away, never mind the fact that I've been saying it was 6 months away since 2020.
Yeah, it's American, not American, don't.
So the next question in this quiz, was homosexual behavior should be regarded as immoral or out of harmony, and I put disagree high because I am obviously fucking bisexual. I'm a open transfem. I don't want my fucking sexuality or my identity criminalized by the clergy elite, the clerical elite, basically.
Who gives a shit if it's behind closed door with adults?
Exactly.
I don't know.
Like, whose business is it? Like, literally, besides mine. Roles for women and men should be prescribed. Disagree. Very high. I wish I could rank it higher than high. Literally, highest thing. I think gender should be abolished, ultimately. I think that a perfect society, or one damn near perfect, would not, assign you automatic assumptions on the basis of what you have between your legs.
Right.
The
only place that I think it matters is medically. That's the only place it should.
Well, even medically, it's weird, right? Because it may be the case that there are people that would feel gender dysphoria even in a world that did not stress gender roles as much. And in a case like that, medically, it is recognized that a person who takes hormones long enough starts to have a physical profile, chemically, structurally, etc., that matches a cis woman's closer than it would a cis man's.
It's probably somewhat important medically to at least understand, the difference between born at male.
Sure, but that's what I'm saying, right? It's like that distinction starts to become less and less important the longer somebody has been on gender-affirming hormones, and at a certain point. But what I'm saying is that there may indeed be people who would still feel gender dysphoria, even in a world where we had evolved past the social imposition of gender, generation by generation. There may yet still be people who literally did not relate to their body in any way. I still feel in a world without gender, I feel like I would still be trans, because ultimately I would still wish on some level that I'd been born with anatomy other than that which I had been born with, and I would still seek to change my body in that direction. But would I necessarily feel such a call to dress in a specific way? I don't know. I feel like a lot of those things are culturally informed and taught to people.
Such a societal push on whether somebody was male or female, would you even feel like you were trans to begin with? If those pressures didn't exist, if you were just a blank slate, and nobody designated.
That's something I wonder about.
Cared how you dressed or anything like that.
Yeah, that's something I wonder about. I don't know the answer for sure.
Even exists at that point.
I don't know the answer for sure, because basically what you're asking is if people didn't assume a whole ton about what you're going to be interested in and how you're going to live your life and what clothes you're going to wear, etc., on the basis of what's between your legs, then would you on the basis of that live your life differently if it didn't align with what you really want to be and who you really relate to and who you really are? I don't know. I think that's one of those questions that's kind of hard to contemplate in a world that is so rigidly gendered.
I kind of wonder if gender dysphoria is only a thing because we emphasize sex and gender so harshly.
I wonder about it too, but for now, what we know is that the science behind gender dysphoria is well substantiated. Right now, with people's the material conditions we're working with at this moment in time, and that we've been working with for all of human history up to this point, indicates that trans people are real, that they exist across a bunch of different cultures, and I wonder genuinely if we were to establish a society that did not impose gender generationally, that was, as insofar as could be achieved, gender abolitionist. I do wonder if you're right, Matt, if that would cease to be a thing that people would feel the need to be in a genderless world. How would you express being trans other than wanting to change the physical aspects of your body, right? Which is what I'm trying to leave open the possibility of, because a lot of people's a lot of people's dysphoria is based on the fact, mine personally is based on the fact that I was not born with genitalia or a natural predisposition towards certain secondary sexual characteristics that would make me more in line with a cis woman, right? And I imagine that in a world without gender, I would still feel that, but would it, would it have changed how I dressed and everything? I don't know.
Let me ask you a question. Say, you're born and you went through your early childhood, and instead of your dad being boys don't wear that, it was everybody just wore whatever all the time, and it didn't even come up. It was just whatever.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I don't know if in such a world I would be trans. I imagine I would be, but I don't know that for sure, and so it's hard for me to extrapolate. What I can tell you is this. I think that if we lived in a relatively genderless society, I probably would not have felt so defensive about the misalignment between my body and my mind. And I don't know that I would have felt such a profound discomfort from it, nor do I think I would have been suppressed from wearing things that I wanted to wear. But I also don't know if there would have been the same influences in such a world. It's a very difficult thing to contemplate. It's something that I want us to achieve because I can see what the ill effects of our current system are, but I'm not saying that I know exactly what the expedient next system will look like precisely.
Right. It's hard to say. I don't know. Just, I feel like maybe it wouldn't, if we just didn't give a shit. If it wasn't even a thing, maybe it wouldn't.
Well, let me ask you this, Matt. Let me ask you this. Do you relate to your penis?
What do you mean by that?
Like, do you kind of feel like a weird sense of pride that you have like a penis?
No.
No? Never? Never. Like, never. Even when you get done fucking somebody, you're like, God damn, I just laid down some pipe.
No.
No? Alright. When you do something that's like traditionally masculine and you really excel at it, do you get like a rush of euphoria from that?
No, not because of my gender. I'm more of like, I tried really hard at that thing, and I was able to do it.
Okay, one last question.
Because I'm a man specifically that I was able to do it. That's where I have pride. That doesn't make any sense to me.
So, okay, one last question. If you woke up tomorrow with a vagina, how would you feel?
Are we saying that just a body part swap and nothing else?
Well, hold on one second. Train's coming through. I'm so sorry. I know. So I guess we're talking about, like, if you woke up tomorrow and you were yourself, more or less, you had all your same memories, all your same preferences and everything else, but you were a cis woman, would you be okay with that, or would you feel like you were missing out on something?
So are you saying if I still had all my memories of being female, but I just woke up and I was female?
Yeah. Dude, Matt, I think you might be non-binary. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't think so. I just don't put that much importance on being a sex.
That's why I think you're non-binary. I think that in a genderless world, you wouldn't call yourself a man. I think in a genderless world, you would call yourself, like, completely non-binary and, like, be super comfortable with it.
Well, we've had this discussion before that I wish I knew what it felt like to be able to have birth.
Yeah, that's why I think you're a fucking non-binary person, but whatever, it's fine. I'm not gonna, like, diagnose you or whatever. I'm just saying, like, I love talking to you about this because you give off NB vibes even if you don't personally consider yourself non-binary.
Well, I mean, I think if I just woke up female, I'd go have some fun.
You just look at it as an opportunity to explore new avenues, right?
I'm sorry, you say that again?
I said you just look at it as an opportunity to explore new avenues, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
I mean, the first time I had a period would fucking probably freak me out, but,
Yeah. Right about that time, you'd probably be wishing for your penis back,
And I hear those cramps are pretty severe, and I probably wouldn't have fun with that.
Oh, they can be debilitating in some women. Like, depending on what illnesses you have and what health issues you got going on, like, a period can be, like, downright debilitating.
The increased risk of cancer.
Yeah.
It's shitty.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things, like,
Only women, or most majority of women have it, is they can be born with a fourth eye cone, so they can see more purple than men can. More in the infrared spectrum.
Yeah. My chat agrees with me, by the way. You sound non-binary.
I mean, like I said, I just don't put that much importance on it. I'll be happy with whatever.
Yeah, that's fair. I feel you. I just think that's funny. I just think it's cool. I'm not really worried about it. I just think it's cool. Next question on this thing was, divorce and or remarriage should be restricted or punished or condemned. Hard disagree. Big high. Because literally there's no reason for that other than we want to instill strict religious morals about how you live your life and what kind of partners you have and how many. Like, there's no reason outside of that explicitly. The one before that was roles for women and men should be prescribed, and I put disagree high. Obviously, I'm a gender abolitionist. I think we were just talking about that. So, then we got establishing social programs, e.g. for equality, anti-poverty / peace, should be fundamental to my belief group. Agree. Definitely. And I'm going to put that as high because you should 100% be prioritizing that, whether you believe in a completely secular morality or a religious morality. I think it is it should be fundamental to any thinking, rational person capable of empathy that taking care of your fellow human being is a fundamental part to being part of society. So yes. Non-violence, including pacifism, opposition to the death penalty, etc., should be fundamental to my belief group. Disagree, because I can honestly see, I'm going to say disagree and low, because I don't feel that hardcore about it, because in general, I would like people to, it's a nuanced thing, right? In general, I would like people to be less violent and to figure out ways to deal with their problems diplomatically through conversation and things like that. But on the other hand, I don't, like, on the other hand, like, what do you do about, like, somebody who just decides to hoard all the coconuts, you know? Like, what do you do with somebody who just decides, like, I'm gonna own all these factories and there's not shit you bitches can do about it? Like, at a certain point, I don't deal with people like that. But on the other hand, I'm also very receptive to pacifist arguments and to arguments against violence and stuff like that. So I would say disagree, but importance is low. Question 19 to 20. Spiritual healing practices should be fundamental to my belief group and preferred over conventional medicine. Disagree. High. Hell no. Spiritual healing might help you feel better about the process as you're recovering with, like, conventional medicine. But no, you don't need to fucking turn away from your cancer doc to go get some singing bowl therapy. That's retarded. Then question 20 to 20. Revering and or worshiping nature should be fundamental to my belief group. Agree. And I'm going to say my importance is medium because I ultimately do think that people should be trying their absolute best to respect and even to revere worship or nature.
See, on that, the problem was not the revere part, because if it was just revered, I would agree with it, but I could disagree with it like me because it said worship.
Well, I don't know, man, because I feel like I don't define for me worship.
See, that's what I want to know. I mean, like I said, if it's just revere, like respect nature and stuff, I would be like 100%. But
right, that's what trips me up as well. So we agree then, worship has a vague definition and it's kind of hard to land on one that actually makes sense. Chad, do you guys have any definitions for worship that, like, I don't know, because they seem to be using it as an equivalency to revering, but, like, do you revere God or do you worship God? Because I've heard a lot of people talk about God in terms of fear, not reverence.
Well, when I think of, like, worship, I think in a way, like, you know, there's these people who have crystals, and they're like, they believe that they can heal, and, you know, they worship nature, and like it's something like that. That's kind of what I get from it.
Yeah, there are definitely people who believe in that shit. I even think it can kind of be helpful as a tool to help put your mindset in the right place and to keep your energy focused and your actions motivated in the right direction. You know, I really do think that engaging in purposeful, mindful rituals can help a human being. But you, I think, need to do it with a with a mind geared towards critical thinking and an understanding that what you're engaging with is not some deeper spiritual truth about the universe or something that should be legislated upon or anything else, but rather some internal personal truth that is helping you stay motivated on this task or helping you understand this thing that you've been through or whatever. So yeah, I don't know. If worshiping means reverence, then I don't know. If worship means reverence, then I agree. But if worship means something other than reverence, I don't know, man. It's kind of hard. So I feel like I have to say agree and medium. How do you feel about that? Can you repeat that? I didn't hear you.
When it came to this, you would agree with it.
I didn't hear you.
I said when it came to this part, and then how I got Unitarian Universalist. These two questions are what I expected you to actually agree with.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's kind of a hard thing, right? Because I don't know what worshiping means. I've never heard a good explanation for it out of the mouths of religious people that makes me feel altogether confident in their ability to define the idea, and that makes me reticent to say that I agree with it completely. But on the other hand, I do think that people should revere nature because they should have an understanding and an appreciation of how much goes into making sure that like life continues to be livable, and like that's like a very complex process and very interesting and everything. But worship feels like, huh?
I said yeah, then go medium. That's fine.
Hold on one second. I'm gonna have my bowl. Yeah, worship just feels like a step too far. Because worship feels like you're saying reverence without question, reverence without critique, reverence without any critical thinking, which is not how I feel about nature. I revere nature, and I think we need to have a deep appreciation and understanding of nature, and it does us well to be fascinated and wondrous of it. But I also think that we can stand to be critical of nature, given how many human lives and animal lives nature has sacrificed over the many centuries and millennia for no reason at all.
So I would disagree personally.
Well, I'm going to put agree because I think that in order for us to survive long term on this planet, we really need to change how we think about nature, how we think about our position on this planet, how we think about our connection to it and everything. So I'm going to put agree, but I'm going to put medium importance because I don't know what worshiping means, and I feel like reverence can be taken a number of ways as well. So we're going to press get results. Your result is secular humanism. So yep, that's what I got. I'll go ahead and screenshot it.
That's interesting because I answered all my answers the same way as I would, except for the last two questions, which I answered how I thought you would answer it, and I got Unitarian Universalist. So
yeah, it's weird. I think that test is set up so that you pretty much have to be like you pretty much have to select an atheistic answer on all but like one or two of them to get secular humanist. And if you answer yes or anything else on one of the others, you'll get Unitarian Universalist. So, I don't know, it's weird, but I think that it pretty much got me right. I would consider myself a secular humanist. I haven't read the Secular Humanist manifestos, but I would consider myself, based on the descriptions I've heard, a secular humanist.
That description I sent in the mod chat.
Okay.
And tell me what you agree and what you disagree with.
Let me pull it up. Put some pants on. I'm wearing a dress and some shorts. I've got plenty of clothes on. Don't you worry about it. So, mod chat in my Discord. Let's see. So we got, okay. So, For Unitarian Universalism or for... Yeah, that's the one you sent. Okay. So,
description I gave.
yeah, Unitarian Universalism is an inclusive, liberal religion that does not require a shared creed, doctrine, or belief in a specific deity. Instead, yeah, I'm definitely not this. I can already tell you that. Instead, you are united by shared values centered around love, justice, and spiritual growth, drawing wisdom from diverse global traditions, science, and personal experience. Hold on one second. We're dealing with a train again.
Man, these trains are just...
I know, dude. I hate it. Jesus, did you honk enough times?
I feel like a lot of this rainbow people probably believe in this specific. Obviously, they don't believe in different evidence, but
Yeah.
that's gonna be like a big one.
Yeah, so I'll read more of it. Instead, you are united by shared values centered around love, justice, and spiritual growth, drawing wisdom from diverse global traditions, science, and personal experience. Rather than adhering to rigid dogma, Unitarian Universalists are a come-as-you-are community. Members include atheists, agnostic, humanists, Christians, and pagans. The faith is guided by 7 core principles, historically organized around concepts like the inherent worth and dignity of all people, the search for truth, and the democratic process. The religion recently updated these values to emphasize love as the central power that binds congregations together, alongside the values of pluralism, equity, transformation, generosity, and interdependence.
So would you say like a lot of people at Rainbow kind of fit in this?
Yes, definitely. Do I fit within it? I feel like everything but the idea that it's a faith that can be distinctly identified as such. I think
So
that
the
there are
label is
good
what's
people.
bothering you.
Huh?
The label is what's bothering you.
I guess the label is what's bothering me and the associations that I'm drawing between it and Unitarian Christians and shit like that. And ultimately, I think the main problem with it is the idea that there might be some religion out there, or even a bunch of religions out there, that have some fragment of the truth. Because I feel like it's kind of like a give an inch, take a mile situation with that, where if you allow these religious people to believe or make the assumption or claim that they are that there's a fragment of truth to their religion, that there's a little bit of fucking...
Their personal beliefs, and it's
Well,
a
if
problem.
you say like, okay, well, it's fine that they believe this without evidence because this is like actually part of a greater overall grander truth. It's almost like the Baha'i thing, right? Which I find the most admirable religion on some level, but I also think that it suffers from the critical flaw of letting people get away with the idea that they can justify something with zero fucking evidence other than like divine writ, which was almost certainly passed down by some ancient shepherd somewhere.
Yeah. I just when I saw the description, I was like, man, this kind of a lot of this is like what I think Phoebe would think.
Huh?
Like when I read the description, I just kind of I felt like a lot of this is what you would actually believe.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. It like I said, I vibe with it except for like the kind of idea that I feel like I'm getting off of it where it's like, well, maybe there's a fragment of truth to everything. It's like, no, some shit's just obviously full of shit. If they got a thing or two right here and there, it is by mistake and mistake only.
Alright, so you definitely would prescribe to yourself more secular hedonism.
100%, yeah, because like as I get older and I see more of the effects on like of religion on people's lives, the less like friendly I get to the like toward the idea of just like, well, maybe every religion's got a bit of truth to it, you know? Like I'm not necessarily going to enforce a rigid idea of that on other people, But as I get older, start to feel more and more like we really need to be firm.
Well, the reason I kind of thought was, I feel like this is how you conduct yourself in normal life, is the come as you are attitude. You know, as long as everybody respects, you know, everybody else, then you can be pagan, Christian, humanist, or agnostic, and so on.
For sure, but that's also a tenet of secular humanism, right? The idea that people, as individuals, are going to believe what they're going to believe, and that if you want to engage them, it's up to you, and that ultimately what you should be trying to dismantle are the faiths themselves, and like the clergy, and the unfair hierarchies that result from people's like undue amount of faith and ties to these places. But you can do that without targeting individual believers, or without thinking that individual believers are automatically morally bankrupt for their choice of church, or without believing that individual believers need to be harassed or confronted for their beliefs. So I would just say that it's one of those things that's very compatible with universal Unitarianism, but it's also very compatible with the secular humanism.
I kind of wonder if, like, Unitarian Universalism is just like a path towards being agnostic or atheist.
That's what I would argue.
It seems like a lot of religious people have to go through this to get to that.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like a lot of people go through a stage, I know I did, where they're like, well, maybe every religion's got a fucking bit of truth to it. Maybe they're all just touching on the same thing. And really, I think like the true sign of growth for a skeptical thinker is being able to go from being able to make the completely reasonable, logical step from maybe every religion has a fucking fragment of truth to it, to maybe every religion has exactly zero truth to it, right? Because believing that one religion has the ultimate and divine truth, but that a bunch of, and then you contrast that with believing that every religion has a fragment of truth, right? You're effectively reducing the amount of truth that you're assigning to these religions and their holy books.
Well, I guess that's it for me. I gotta go, but it was a nice talk.
Hey, thanks, Matt.
You probably want to wrap things up.
Yeah, not in here too long. Yeah.
Alright, you have a good rest of your night.
Yeah, have a good night, Matt. I appreciate it.
Or morning, I guess.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I'll probably go to bed.
Alright,
Night night. Well, that was Matt, everybody. Now you're left with me, and now I'm going to be reading comments to get some good content out of you guys. So please super chat if you enjoyed that conversation. It was about an hour and 40 minutes worth of interesting content. Please feel free to sign up for the membership as well. I might go ahead and switch it over to a members only chat. I'm going to look at what's going on, and I'm going to just see. We're just going to see and look. We're just going to see and look. DOP Aftershow, what? Dude, I was so drunk. I'm still pretty fucked up, but like I'm not as drunk as I was. My voice sounds awful. Holy shit. Yeah. Thank you, King Bugs, for the $10. I appreciate that a ton. That's so fucking cool. King Bugs, did you see I was on Drunken Peasants earlier? I thought that was cool. I was on DP. It feels like a fucking full circle kind of moment. Alright, I'm switching it to members only mode. Fuck you guys. If you're a member, you'll still be able to chat. If you're a mod, you'll still be able to chat. If you're not a member or a mod, well, maybe you should become a member and you'll be able to chat. Absolutely, I don't believe in Islam, but I do believe there's truth in every other religion. Facts. Yeah, see, I just don't, I can't buy that. I personally feel like if you give people an inch, they'll take a mile. And especially that's true when it comes to religious people. You give religious people the authority to think like, oh, my stupid nonsense actually has a fragment of truth to it. They'll start saying like, well, because this is recognized by so many other religions, it's actually proof that the rest of our fucking crazy bullshit is also true. And all you need to do to illustrate what a poor way of thinking that is to point out that anyone under those auspices could create a fucking fictional, fucking constructed religion, pull it right out of their ass and their head, of course, and simply include in that religion a few basic fucking things that we know to have happened, and then all of a sudden we have to take that seriously as well. Fuck that. No. You don't grant things like, like big movements that are trying to make factual claims about reality verisimilitude on the basis of their being very passionate about it, okay? You gotta be based on science, which is why you should support leftist movements. Leftist, secular, humanist movements. I cut some of your pre-stream, not the show though. Aw, damn. King Bugs, you're gonna have to rewatch it. It was 7 hours worth of epic content. I like to think that I brought the fire. I have streamed more in the last 12 hours than I have in the last 3 days. That's not even a joke either. It's not even kidding. Maybe the last 4 days. I have given you guys just an absurd amount of content. If you want to see what I was doing before I started this stream, check out the Drunken Peasants. I was on their show earlier today. We checked out a bunch of Brett Keane videos. I got very drunk and yelled at Brett Keane. It was very fun. It was very enjoyable. Please check that out if you have the time. And consider leaving Ben fucking super thanks if you're able to. Or donate to his StreamYard, be even better. Or Streamlab, whatever it is. I reject all religion. It's all false. Agreed. Yep. No, 100%. I see no reason to believe in any religions, so I don't believe in any religions. And I reject their claims of understanding what the Creator may or may not have been. And I reject their fucking bullshit about being able to prescribe certain moralities onto us. I just think that's horseshit that they have not substantiated and cannot substantiate. It's crazy. For doing as much content as I've done, I really haven't made much, but that, I'm not complaining or anything. I make plenty on most nights, I'm sure I'll make up for it tomorrow or whatever, but it's just, man, if anything, it should show you how dedicated to the craft I am. On a certain level, I really do this shit more for enjoyment than I do for money. Even if I have figured out a way to make it pretty fucking successful. Because this has been, let's see. So I did 7 hours on DP. I did 30 minutes before I went on DP, so 7.5 hours. It's been 1 hour and 30, so 7.5, 8, 9 hours of fucking content. So if I went for 3 more hours, I would have done 20, I would have been 12 hours worth of content in one fucking go, consistently, with only a 10-minute break in between one of the streams, and a 5-minute break in between one of the others. So yeah, I love you guys. You guys are dope. I love this job. I've barely been around here for a few days, holiday and all that. Yeah, no, it's fine. I understand it completely. I understand that. I'm happy you're here. Donate or not, you have fucking good comments. You have interesting things to add to the conversation. So, I fucking appreciate it. Thank you, Desi. Thank you for the hearts. Yeah, I don't know how much longer I'll stay on here tonight. I do want to give the members a little bit of fucking members-only chat, because I haven't given you guys anything today, which is very much against my nature as of late. So I want to make sure you guys have a little bit of time to ask me any burning questions or anything like that. But I don't intend to stay on here forever. We're not going to go over 2 hours. Rep Plattner, am I right? Yeah. So I'm going to have to say something that I needed to say for a while. I need to retract what I said earlier about Graham Plattner and about like, I don't believe this shit. It seems like too time and all that shit. Like, the time is too close, and we've seen all these allegations before. This type of allegation has happened. Well, I read the Politico article. Okay? Vote for the independent, I guess. I vote for the independent, or like the next runner-up that might fucking jump back into the race now that Graham Plattner is almost certainly gonna have to drop out. I don't know how the fuck he's possibly going to survive this, unless voters in Maine really just don't give a shit about it. But it's a pretty fucking egregious breach of trust and consent that he's accused of by someone who agrees with his politics and who has kind of already revealed some stuff to the news prior, but has come out with more stuff and corroborated it with statements from her therapist, corroborated it with statements from an ex of hers that like dated her after the fact, and some other people and shit. So yeah, what are you gonna do? Sometimes you are wrong, and today I was wrong. I'm sorry. And I've been defending someone who was probably pretty fucking reprehensible, looking at it in hindsight. And for that I apologize. And to the Indian fellow that I've argued with quite a bit on Reddit and on my YouTube comments and everything, I'm sorry. You were right. Sucks to admit it. Probably not even gonna see this, but he lost me by playing dumb about the Totenkopf. Well, I was willing to fucking forgive that shit, because it's like, whatever. He's so fucking progressive, and he's already got, like, he's got all these fucking credentials pointing towards, like, he could be really fucking big firebrand in the Senate if he get in. But after this, like Paradox said, it's almost certain that he did it. And that's the vibe I get off the article I read, and I fucking hate to say that. It really does. It's fucking rain on my parade, because I was genuinely looking forward to Graham Plattner in Maine as a genuine progressive firebrand in the Senate. Whoever replaces him, I don't know if they'll have that same kind of appeal to so many people, or if they'll have that same kind of command of the language and, you know, signals of these people, but it ultimately doesn't matter at this point. It's a matter of, like, keeping up a consistent moral image. We can't be the party of, like, prosecute the Epstein files, bring these rapists to justice no matter what party they were on, and then ignore these allegations that are being backed up by a therapist, by multiple exes and associates and shit, like emails that are, like, dated to that time and shit. I don't know, man. So I guess I withdraw my support for Graham Plattner. Hopeful that people learn from this and take red flags a little more serious is my takeaway. Well, I feel bad for fucking Rotten earlier that was talking to me about this that I was so dismissive of. I feel like I was a jackass to them now. But whatever, this is what, like, you're supposed to feel like after you were wrong about something and admit it. So I'm not, like, trying to get fucking self-pity or anything. I'm just saying I feel bad. I fucking wish that that person would pop in chat right now and be like, hey, I hear you, and you're stupid, but it's fine. You've learned, you're admitting it. You know, I just hope they hear this on some level. What did this Plattner do? Graham Plattner, he was like the front-runner Democratic candidate for Senate in a certain district in Maine. And he has there's been some allegations that have surfaced in the past about him before, but one of them was clearly politically motivated, and one of them was like not, but also was like a little more questionable. And that lady who did the one that was more questionable but was not politically motivated has now come out and said that a lot more happened than she initially described, and she has corroborated that with statements from her therapists, with statements from her therapist, with statements from other associates and friends and ex, like after the fact, and shit like that, and some people from around that time, and it just doesn't look very good for him, and it looks very much like he probably did drunkenly rape someone in a break-in and enter kind of situation, like fucking, walked through an unlocked door, blackout drunk, raped somebody, and didn't even remember it the next day, according to her account, and was broken up with on the spot, was basically allowed to spend the night in her bed with her sleeping on a couch downstairs or something to get away from him, because he was so drunk that she didn't want to wake him up and try and get him to drive in that condition. And if it, given the fact that Politico is saying it's corroborated, unless the entire fucking, bureaucracy of Politico is in on some fucking work to discredit Graham Plattner, that just sounds like a conspiracy theory to me. So what is Politico bought by fucking AIPAC to the point where, literally everyone on the staff is willing to publish a bogus story with, just made up facts? I don't know, that seems like a little fucking absurd to me. Seems like somebody would be coming out and fucking saying that shit. So, what do you do but accept it and move on? Good summary. Yep. I read the article. I told you guys. I'm not bullshitting. I genuinely mean it. I apologize for how I went about it when you guys told me about it this afternoon, or yesterday afternoon. And I withdraw my support for Graham Plattner. I find it hard with these types of things because I want hard evidence, but how do you prove grape? Well, that's the thing. I feel like we've got as much of hard evidence as we're going to find with something that probably can't be prosecuted anymore. But who knows? Maybe the DA in his area will decide to fucking file a criminal complaint because of this. We don't know that for sure. It would seem unlikely to me, because it would probably be very hard to convict him in, front of a jury of his peers. Right? Because it's one thing to say, this person has too many allegations and they are too well substantiated to allow them to run for office and give them our vote. It's another thing to feel like that's one of the reasons we say Donald Trump is unelectable, right? But it's another thing to say, this person has done this and we want them to go to prison for it, right? Different standards of evidence, in my opinion, are required for those things. A reputable paper or two reporting on a bombshell story like this, where they have files and documentation on this shit, is a sufficient level of proof, in my opinion, to say not worth your vote, not good, especially because a lot of people that aren't that critical of thinkers are going to make decisions like that about their vote anyway, with less information than you're even getting from the same headlines and the same information. So yeah, I just think it's a horrible development, and I hope that people take the right lessons away from it. I wish there was a way, because on one hand, if he did it, that's horrible, but usually we don't convict on he said, she said things without some sort of hard evidence. Because if he did not do it, that sucks a lot. Well, here's the thing. Exactly what you're talking about, hard evidence, is the distinguishment, right, between something like being taken to court and getting thrown out after a long enough time, or going to jury and ending up in a hung jury or something like that, and something being easily prosecutable. Like, one of the things you'll learn, the more you learn about crime and the justice system and stuff like that, is just like a pro bono lawyer will not take your case unless they think that they can squeeze a little bit out of you in the way the winnings are distributed, a prosecutor won't take up a case unless they are pretty sure that they can secure a conviction on something. And in a case like that, with no, like, there's probably not going to be any DNA evidence. I didn't read the entire article, so I don't know if she went and did a rape kit, but it sounded to me from what I read like she didn't. And if she didn't, there's almost certainly no DNA evidence that could prove it. And, like, once again, there's a big difference between the court of public opinion and, like, a U.S. Justice Court or something like that. Like, there's a big difference between those two things. The court of public opinion is perfectly fine to convict someone and sentence them to cancellation and a withdrawing of your support because they had some allegations like this that are as substantiated as these are. But if you're going to actually throw somebody in prison, if you're going to issue them a big fine or something like that, you have to be able to prove unanimously that, well, like, you have to get that jury to vote unanimously that they are guilty of what they are being asked to vote on, right? So, you know, it depends. Like, sometimes it's what you got charged with originally. In a lot of cases, it's something that gets, well, if you plead down to it, then often you don't even go in front of a jury. It's just something that's agreed between you and the prosecutor. But the point is, it's harder to secure a conviction than it is to secure a cancellation. And that's for good reason. We have to have a high, rigid standard of evidence when it comes to our public, or when it comes to our, we have to have a super high, rigid standard of evidence when it comes to, like, who we're throwing in prison, who we might be sentencing to death, etc. When it comes to, like, the opinion, oh shit! Whee! Anyway, when it comes to the opinion that you should have of, like, a government official or whatever. What the fuck was I talking about? I don't even remember. This is why our justice system is far from perfect. Yeah, for sure. Well, it's one of the many reasons. I mean, you think about it, though. We've been trying at this for so long as, like, human beings, as, like, a group of apes engaged in the process of trying to figure out how to do civilization. We've been going at it a long time, and I feel like we do get closer every year, but we're still a long ways off from perfection. By the way, thank you guys to all of you who are hanging out in the members chat. Thank you guys for being members. You guys are what enables this content to stay alive. I appreciate your donations a ton. I appreciate your gifted memberships a ton. Thank you. Probably gonna get off here in about 6 or 7 minutes. I hope the fucking Ark Forever servers come back on, because I've been playing on Ark Forever on one of the maps. You'll get to see which one soon. I've been playing on Ark Forever, and their servers have been down for like days now, because, like, apparently the latest update introduced a bug into the API that a bunch of their plugins are based on. and some of the plugins are like super important ones, like quality of life plugins that would like fundamentally fucking change a bunch of people's structures or render them unplayable. There's character issues that are going on that aren't fully resolved yet, that if people are allowed to log back on, they might fuck up their own recovery process, etc. So I'm just like eagerly awaiting every single day, like twice a day I will check the fucking Discord, because it's been like 2 or 3 days now, and I've checked the Discord like probably 17 times looking to see like, is there any update? Have they figured this shit out? Are they getting any closer? Are they doing this? Is it getting any closer? Are they figuring this shit out? Would you trust a system if we invented something that could accurately tell if you're speaking the truth or not? Trust what system? This is why we need to end the stigma of coming forward for abuse. We will confront it ASAP. Yeah, I agree. Oh. The government? Would you be comfortable using that for these types of situations? Maybe. It depends. Who are we making go through this? Everybody? Like, does everybody? Like, let's just say that it's a hypothetical technology that exists on a collar. And it's a pretty inconspicuous collar. You can wear it under the collar of a garment or something. But it's a collar that will deliver, like, certain, like, things to your brain to make it so that you cannot lie. Let's just say that that technology exists. Ultimately, yeah, I think that pretty much any justice system would be foolproof if you couldn't fucking lie. Yeah. Like, literally, if you could not lie, if you could remain silent or, tell the truth, then, yeah, I think that pretty much any fucking criminal justice system you come up with at that point. Like, you could have a criminal justice system that is just a judge, a witness. Like, literally, you could have, like, one that's, like, just a judge, call him, like, a jury person, an arbiter, maybe, I don't know, and a bailiff, and, like, the whole process of court could just be like, alrighty, so the facts of the case are yada, yada, yada. Did you do this? And they're gonna, like, have to tell the truth or stay silent. And it's like, if they stay silent for too long, you kind of know what's going on. But yeah, unfortunately for us, that technology does not exist, and even if like the detection technology that does exist for lying and shit was like more reliable than it is, which it isn't. Like, lie detectors are highly unreliable, but even if they were, I feel like people would not stomach, people meaning like the judges and lawyers and people that are involved in this shit, I don't know that they would be able to stomach the idea of making it the standard that certain people in the courtroom can be subjected to lie detector tests or like constant lie detector maintenance. It also seems a little technically hard to do, but I guess that's the least of my concerns. Someone gifted me a membership 10 hours ago, and I'm so grateful. Thank you, Desi. Thank you for whoever gifted that membership. What did you drink, Phoebe? I drank vodka and Coca-Cola, mostly, and vodka and root beer as well. I was paying homage to Brett Keane. For whoever has a burden of proof, yep. No, burden of proof, I should say, but something like that could be used for more Orwellian shit. Yeah, but I mean, like, the main reason why Orwell's dystopia sucked is because of the lack of consent, because of all the like distinct manipulation going on and stuff like that. What we're talking about is ultimately something that is not like some cynical, underhanded manipulation or like the massive transformation of society so as to affect certain outcomes. It's literally just like some simple technology that either lets people know when people are lying reliably or prevents them from lying, whichever one. I think basically it effectively achieves the same thing. I'm disturbed by how foolproof people think DNA testing is. Yeah, I mean, I've even committed that fallacy in the past, you know, like I've made that fucking mistaken judgment before. It's kind of hard to understand, right? Like how good our processing and testing is with DNA, and yet how far it has to come yet, right? I think it's hard for a lot of people, myself included, to fully process that. People used to think polygraphs were good evidence too. I don't know. I feel like DNA is pretty reliable, but it's not like it's, you know, perfect. My understanding with it is like some of the problems come from the fact that there are different ways to test DNA. Not all of them produce as reliable results. There are different results that you can get, and like false positives and stuff like that, and misreads that you can get depending on how degraded a sample is or how bad the sample is. And good samples are not always achieved. So yeah, there are problems with it for sure, but I do think it's a fascinating science that has led to some pretty noteworthy exonerations. I guess the way I would put it is, DNA is at its least reliable as a science when it's being done by like fucking amateur police labs and like the little fucking, you know, contracted labs that they contract out. And it's at its absolute best when being done by cutting edge researchers who, you know, stand to gain quite a bit in their learning or in their ability to remain viable as a company by discovering more about the human genome. Like, I really do think there's like some super fucking fascinating and amazing cutting edge DNA technology out there. I just don't think it's possessed and used by like the police departments of the world. Yes, and that could be circumstance and coincidence, Matt. Let me see here. Are more of the belief as living creatures we are shedding bits of DNA wherever we go? Yeah. But it irks me that people think it's magic. Yeah, it's definitely not magic. It can be used to exonerate somebody. Sometimes it can be used to prove their guilt. But there are lots of situations where people assume that it has a lot more weight than it actually does. And I would argue that it would actually be an interesting and perhaps pretty plausible defense of someone who, like, let's just say someone was fighting a charge where, like, let's say someone was fighting a charge with the DNA evidence, like, supposedly pointed towards them, and they got convicted on the basis of that, but the rest of the evidence was kind of shaky, or maybe even very shaky, I think that it would be reasonable for them to appeal on the basis of like errors with the DNA and to do even more discovery. And if they figured out that the DNA collected was indeed a bad sample, and that further tests of it reveal false positives, negatives, or a mix of fucking, like, I think that it should be looked at and considered, you know? Because just because, like, a police department has access to a DNA lab does not mean that that DNA lab is a high quality one. I don't trust it as 100% proof like so many people do. The CSI and Law and Order effect on society, yeah, 100%. Like, literally, the CSI and Law and Order effect, and also, like, the JCS and fucking, not the JCS maybe, but, like, there are so many of these, like, EWU and fucking Midwest Safety and shit like that that do these police body cam videos. Sometimes they got the interviews, and sometimes they got shit like that too, where basically people are getting the impression, because they're watching videos that are made about cases that were adjudicated correctly 99% of the time. They're getting all these assumptions drilled into their head about how firm and strong and reliable DNA science is. And two, people are just kind of stupid. They'll listen to a show say something. They'll listen to a show, right, knowing it was made in the 1990s, knowing it was made in the mid-90s, about a case that happened in the late 80s. And, like, they will watch that. And, like, the book? What the fuck? Anyway, you could, what was I gonna say? Oh, right, I remember. So yeah, I think they leave people with like a false impression of how quickly these cases get solved and everything else. And sometimes they will watch something that was made in like the mid-90s or something, but they will not make the connection in their head that, or maybe it was made in like the early 2000s or like the 2010s. Say, like, they'll watch an episode maybe in 2015, and it'll be about a case that, like, the crime happened in 1995 or some shit. So a full 20 or 30 years, like, before they're watching the episode about it. And they'll hear all this shit, and at the end of it, they'll hear how it was solved and everything. And they'll be like, oh my god, that is so cool. And a part of them goes away thinking that that happened in not that many more times, the space of time that it took that episode to play. And it's just stupid. Happened before on a crime show my wife watched. Dude got accused over hair and skin. DNA found in a body was his home. They ignored other DNA found on body, but guy was eventually cleared. Yep. That's the fucking absurd thing, dude. With a willing prosecutor and a fucking corrupt police department, any kind of evidence can say what they want it to say, basically. Hell, a common sex chromosome test basically amounts to holding a sample up to light and judging if it's darker or lighter. Yeah. Yeah, it's basically like, that's fucking absurd, too. Yeah, it's basically like tea leaf reading. It's not even that dissimilar to tea leaf reading. Which is fucking funny if you think about how many transphobes act like chromosomes are the end-all be-all for a woman. But there's actually like it's pretty complicated to test that for sure. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and go, you guys. I really need to pee. And we're back down to 23 viewers. So I feel like it's been a good night. Thank you guys for hanging out. Holy shit, my voice is fried. I can't wait to get in and eat some of the fucking homemade egg rolls I made, because I made some delicious homemade egg rolls, and I'm going to eat them when I go inside. So thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you guys for being cool. Good night. I will see you guys later. I appreciate a ton. Might have better results reading the bones and charting the stars. Yeah, 100%. Bye, guys.